Next week, the U.S. government is set to show up in court to answer some questions about Harry's visa application, and this is coming after a conservative think tank demanded that it be unsealed, considering that Harry has admitted to abusing drugs. The Department of Homeland Security is set to face off on the 6th of June against the Heritage Foundation. They filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit earlier this month to make the agency release Harry's immigration records, arguing that they are of immense public interest. But so far, the U.S. government has refused to make Harry's visa application public. A man named Niall Gardner is the director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation, and on Tuesday he tweeted that the hearing will be in D.C. federal court and it will be open to the media. Now, Gardner touted the upcoming hearing, that's probably the first of many to come, as a very significant development. Ever since Harry and Meghan arrived in the U.S., he has not done anything positive or meaningful for the U.S. Instead, he has just caused international diplomatic problems with his televised family grievances, and he's demanding aristocratic status for himself and his family on the egalitarian shores of the U.S. Harry is working closely with organizations dedicated to limiting free speech, and that is not acceptable. Harry hasn't said anything good about the U.S., and he was awful to the NYPD. He and Meghan were simply abusive with that fake car chase publicity stunt. It looks to us like Harry is just in the U.S. to grab some cash and stay high on marijuana, so I wish he would be deported. Any foreign national who wants to obtain a U.S. visa or permanent resident status has to answer some questions about their past drug use, and it looks like Harry lied. People are not happy right now because it looks like we are living in a time where the rich are winning and they're getting away with everything. So I think this is great news that Harry might not get away with this. Our forefathers, after all, wanted justice for all, and an ex-British royal in the US believing that he can get away with perjury is completely unacceptable. I cannot wait for Harry to be humiliated. He really deserves it. If it can be proven that Harry abused drugs, then like many other people in the same situation that would have been stopped from getting a visa, Harry should be deported back to the UK. What's important at this point is if his past drug use has been exposed on his I-485 and I-693 in case of abuse. So I-485 Part 8 Question 30 reads, have you ever violated or attempted or conspired to violate any controlled substance law or regulation of a state, the United States, or a foreign country? So this would mean that if Harry just smoked a joint in the US, even in states where it might be legal, he should have answered yes. And if he didn't, and if the USCIS is given proof that he lied, they can take away his visa, and they can force removal proceedings. And actually, this whole hearing is not necessarily just about his drug use. It's about whether or not he lied on his visa application about using drugs. In his book, Harry admitted that he used cocaine, marijuana, and magic mushrooms. So the question is, did he lie on his visa application about that? Legal experts have been weighing in on this issue, and some are saying that Harry could be denied entry to the US by any border guard who has read his admission of taking drugs in Spare. The border officials could really ask him a lot of questions about the admissions if he failed to declare it on his visa application form, and that would mean that Harry could be prevented from coming back to the US next month after his trip to London. He's suing the Mirror Group newspapers over allegations of phone hacking, so that's why he's going to have to go there next month. It tells us a lot that in spite of Harry's lectures on everything, he doesn't even acknowledge his own rich person and title privilege. He tries to talk the talk, but he cannot walk the walk. He expects somebody to carry him. The average person would certainly be denied entry over this, but the truth is there are many wealthy, famous people who are allowed in for much worse. At the end of the day, I'm afraid it really is all about power and money, even in the US. But anyway, let's shift gears. I'm tired of talking about Harry and Meghan. Let's talk about more pleasant royal issues, like the Princess of Wales. She is continuing on her mission to enrich the lives of children. There was a picnic that she hosted at the Chelsea Flowers show, and also she's been with carers in Camden. Catherine has become a leading voice in the field of early years development, and she launched a whole series of very important projects, including the Big 5 Question Survey and Shaping Us. Shaping Us is an awareness campaign dedicated to highlighting the importance of early childhood. And last week, when Catherine participated in a few engagements connected to this research, these passions were on full display. Making a surprise visit to the Chelsea Flower Show last Monday for a children's picnic with some local primary school students, Catherine participated in a bug hunt, she helped to plan a homegrown meal, and she talked about how gardening and spending time outside does a lot of good for our mental health. Royal expert Jenny Bond feels like it's really important to make the historic show more accessible for young people. Speaking exclusively with OK Magazine, she said, "It's all rather grown up at Chelsea, so a children's picnic is great because they're sitting in one of those fantastically sculpted gardens learning about horticulture." Now, Jenny used to host the annual show, and she went on to say it ties in perfectly with Kate's early learning campaign. When you saw the children's interviews on TV, they all focused on what she had told them about the bugs, nature, and the value of gardens. She also said, "I think Kate's a born teacher. It's much more fun to teach children about the world than just playing games. Giving a place to children at Chelsea and encouraging this love of nature and gardening is just fantastic." And the kids also asked Catherine some questions about her role. One child asked her what it was like to be a member of the royal family, and her answer was, "You have to work hard, but you know the best thing about it is meeting kiddies like you." They also asked her exactly what the family does, and she explained. They help support all the different people in the country, showcase all the amazing work being done, and look after everyone. And then another child told reporters, "I asked her what's the first thing she is going to do when she becomes queen, and she said she is going to help kids. Ugh, don't you just love her?" And Catherine was not the only royal present at the Chelsea Flower Show this week. King Charles, Queen Camilla, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, Princess Alexandra, and Prince and Princess Michael of Kent all went to view this year's gardens. Princess Beatrice and her husband also made an appearance. They were standing in for the heavily pregnant Princess Eugenie in her role as patron of Horatio's Garden. Now that, of course, is a charity that helps people with spinal injuries. Just days before their surprise trip to Northern Ireland, the King and Queen came to visit the annual show, and they toured the gardens, they spoke with the experts, and they even met Manoj Malda and Clive Gilmore. They became the first people in the show's long history to marry on the site. The Queen was wearing a beautiful flowy silk dress decorated with the late Queen's favorite lily of the valley flowers, and she showed off her more playful side as she diverted from the set path to test out a garden swing. There were other famous people there too, including Dame Mary Berry and Dame Joanna Lumley, Dominic West, Keely Hawes, Vanessa Feltz, Bruno Tonioli, and Lauren Silverman. They were all there. And then later on in the week, Catherine went to the Foundling Museum, of which she is a patron, and the Kinship Charity in London too. While she was at the museum, Catherine heard from people with lived experience of the care system, as well as with foster carers and adoptive parents. And then later on, she met with kinship carers and she went to a support group session for people who are raising kids who were not their own. The rapper Professor Green was actually there along with his nanny Pat, who raised him and officially became his guardian when he turned 3 years old. People who met with Catherine described her visit as encouraging and inspirational. Kinship carer Sandra, who is raising her younger grandson, said, "To have the princess here today to talk to us to understand what kinship was all about was amazing." She went on to say, "The fact that she is so interested in children, particularly those of a younger age, is brilliant, and it was nice to chat about what is important to us. It's important to give our children the tools to cope when they come to adolescence, and she gets that."